Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, coming at you live, talking about episode 10 of season 1 of Star Trek Discovery. And let me get it out of the way right away and say there's going to be thorough spoilers in this episode discussion video. If you haven't already seen episode 10 of the returning second half of season 1 of Star Trek Discovery, click off the video now. I really don't want to spoil it for anybody because there's some big doings in this episode. But it is your prerogative. If you're going to be sticking with me, whether you've seen it or not, let's rock and roll. That's your first, last, and only warning for spoilers in this video. This episode was gangbusters. Let me just say that straight away. Best episode of Star Trek Discovery yet, bar none. As far as I'm concerned, in my humble opinion, this was mind-blowing. I was already excited knowing Jonathan Frakes was directing this episode, but then, of course, to answer that overhanging mystery of where Discovery was left at the mid-season finale, a couple of months ago, everyone and their brother, everyone and their uncle was already speculating it's the mirror universe, Terran Empire, all of that good stuff. And they answered to that, and sure enough, they delivered on it. And then some. And what I really love is that they sort of pepper it in. We are very much riding shotgun to our main cast of characters. Lorca, Burnham, everybody, they're peppering in little hints and whispers here and there, building up to the reveal. They don't just fan servicey, boom, yes, we're in the mirror universe, I mean, we, the viewer, we're all one step, we're probably 3 steps ahead of the cast of characters. And we know what's coming, but we're still seeing them having to figure it all out. And I really loved that. I really appreciated that. First encountering a Vulcan vessel that has, air quotes, rebels in it, as they're told by one of their contemporaries in this alternate dimension, and everything like that, who then chases them off and goes to destroy them, all these rebel factions and whatever like that. And, we have this really drawn out, elaborate sequence where they have to get a memory core from a Klingon sort of raider, but it has other signatures and all this kind of stuff, and the information that they finally are able to get their hands on, tell them all about the history of the Terran Empire and all that kind of stuff, and how it's, it's kind of like Daleks versus humans, in a sense, for Doctor Who fans. The methodology and the psychoses, the megalomania of the Dalek species, the fascist, dislike for anything unlike. I mean, that is the Terran Empire to its core. And for anyone, quite frankly, who has been banging on and on and on that the people that are behind Star Trek Discovery don't care about canon, don't care about the history of Star Trek, and this, that, and the other thing. That's pretty much well and truly out the window with the debut, the callback to the USS Defiant. Now, this goes all the way back to the original series, the Tholian Web, where the Defiant phases out of the proper Prime universe. And as we find out so many decades later in season 4 of Star Trek Enterprise, their Mirror Universe 2-parter, In a Mirror Darkly, parts 1 and 2, the Defiant had actually traversed not only an alternate dimension, but had gone back in time, 100 some odd years, and was found by, then Mirror Universe equivalent of the NX-01 Enterprise and whatever like that. And Archer wanted to secure it for his own so he could take over, command of the Empire, take down the current Emperor of the day, and eventually that would fall to Hoshi Sato, who kills him and all this kind of stuff. I know, spoilers for like 12 years ago, whatever it is. But I mean, it's a thorough callback. And I love that we actually got to see sort of a scan of the Defiant as it now must appear in the Mirror Universe. It's been 100 years since then, and it had modifications and things like that. But it is, for all intents and purposes, the first time we see a Constitution-class starship in this series. And I can only hope they deliver on actually giving us like a 3D model on it. I really want to see the Mirror Universe 100 years later equivalent of that throwback Defiant from the original series. That would just be gangbusters. Of course, we have Burnham and Lorca and our boy Vogue in disguise, Ash Tyler, all going on this secretive mission over to the Shenzhou, which is, of course, the mirror equivalent. It wasn't destroyed or anything like that, or left for dead. Has still much of the original crew from our universe and everything, our side, still aboard it, and Burnham was the captain of it. So they're going to go try to steal some information about the Defiant in sort of, to answer the means for which is to answer, how did that ship get here? We're not the first ones. Another ship predates us. How did that get here? Because it wasn't some weird, trippy spore drive nonsense like how we landed here. And so I was literally grinning ear to ear the entire time. I loved the vibe of this whole episode. But then there's a turning point where my jaw hit the floor. If you heard a loud bang while you were watching this episode, and it just happened to coincide with when I was watching this episode, it was probably the whole dead weight of my jaw hitting the floor. Because, and this is why I gave the spoiler warning, but we lose one of our main cast. We lose Dr. Culber. And in a very vicious, sick, twisted, no pun intended way, and getting his neck broken by Ash cum Voke. He's done the scans, and they've done enough tweaking internally. I love how they stave this off. They pepper off little hints and whispers to this effect, as well as, everyone gaining their bearings that, oh, we're in a different universe. We're in the mirror universe. Culber does scans. And he had already conducted scans, pretty intensive scans, back when Tyler first came aboard, and everything, for all intents and purposes, seemed normal. Air quotes. As normal as, the recipient of torture might look internally and via psychological scans and all this stuff. And, but he ends up digging a little deeper because of the mental craziness that's going on with Ash Tyler. Once again, approaching his former Klingon ward and everything like that, and trying to break down what in the hell is going on. What did you do to me? And all this kind of stuff, and getting really hands-on with her. And then suddenly, boom, the like PTSD effect is going full form, and they're conversing back and forth in Klingon. And it's like they're pretty much serving it up on a platter. This is Vogue. What I like that they did with this is that they don't just leave it there. Like, again, in a similar fashion to how they're just peppering in the fact that this is the mirror universe, this is the Terran Empire, and all these, aesthetics, they're peppering in that realization for Ash Tyler. Now, he becomes a very compelling character because he is Vogue, who has undergone such strenuous mental recalibration. A whole identity has been deposited on top of his former Klingon Vogue identity, as Culber would have it, and they've restructured his body. They've put in, there's scar tissue around all of the internal organs and everything like that, which makes me speculate that what they must have done is harvested human, like equivalents and embedded that stuff, and like completely reworked his whole metabolism, his DNA, the blood flow, everything like that. Rather than eating human beings, maybe they were harvesting human beings to find compatible organs and things like that to be able to transfuse into Vogue and make him Ash Tyler. But he's that much more compelling now because he is harboring this, and there's so much of him, his personality, his persona, his awareness, his cognizance, that is in denial of it. And now there's that conflict where it can be set off at the spur of the moment. This is what takes Culber's life, because Culber's getting too close to the revelation of what the truth is. And it's also, it seems to be very much spurned on by his protectiveness over Burnham. So whatever like mental connection they have, mental, emotional, whatever you want to say, romantic, whatever, however you want to quantify that, whatever connection they have is now running parallel to his human personality as his relationship with our Klingon benefactor is to his Klingon persona. And it's just like, poof, mind blowing. I was completely and utterly shocked with the death of Culber, and I'm so like shades of angry and sad and like this cannot stand. You know, I'm so not happy that they killed him. Um, Especially with what the hell Stamets is still experiencing. And I had wondered, and I speculated to this point, if you know what was happening with Stamets was not somehow an offshoot or related in a way to what we saw Gary Mitchell experience in the very first, the second pilot of the original series, Where No Man Has Gone Before, with that, you know, sort of psychic energy and you know, being overpowered and everything like that, and that running amok and running away with him, being all consumed by that power and looking at, you know, every average human being surrounding them like so much vermin, you know, to be stamped out. And because there was that one scene, as we see in this episode, where Stamets, he gets up, he's wandering around, and he flings Culber halfway across the medical bay. And, you know, I thought he was going to be the problem. I thought he was going to be run amok. And there is that heartening moment that comes just minutes before Culber gets his head twisted on his body by Tyler, cum voc, as I say, where he goes over to Stamets, and there's this really touching moment where he kisses him, and for the briefest of seconds, Stamets is back, and he's issuing that warning. Don't go to the palace, which must have something to do with maybe we're going to go back and for the first time ever see the Terran Empire headquarters of Earth. You know, don't go back to the palace of the Empire, the Emperor. You know, I don't know. But the other thing he's constantly saying in those moments is the enemy is here, the enemy is here, the enemy is here. And for the briefest of seconds, his eyes go clear and he's back. And it just makes that much more impactful with the then subsequent death of Culber, his partner. I cringed. I wanted to scream. Of course, the episode continues to unfold, and they did this really clever thing where, surprisingly, the crew, the intrepid crew of Discovery, had time enough to graffiti the numbering on the outside of the ship, and they've got the quartermaster to make them all Terran Empire equivalent uniforms based on the memory information they got out of that, you know, Klingon drive or whatever it was. And we have Tilly being Captain Killy and all this kind of stuff. And I thought it was hilarious too, as somebody whose first reaction to them dropping the F-bomb, when she first has to get on audio for the other ship, you know, to pretend to be the captain of the Discovery, she's all quirky and timid and like, well, what the heck is going on here, you know? But then she says, oh, let's go deal with these assholes later on. And I didn't have as much of a problem with the language as I did with the F-bomb, which I just felt was shoehorned in needlessly. In a scenario like this, Lorca mirrored my own perspective on things, going all the way back to when the F-bomb was dropped, to the language in this episode. No, in the here and now, where we find ourselves currently, given our scenario, it is perfectly well fitted. And I couldn't agree more. Here you have a very strenuous circumstance. They don't know if they're ever going to get back to our side, to the Prime universe and everything like that. They could be stranded there. This could be their last mission. They could all die at the end of this. And I really got to wonder, too, like in speculative sort of directioning of the conversation, if they can somehow figure out the phase that happened with the Defiant to lend the Defiant over into this, you know, this mirror universe, and then sent to the past, as I said, but as we saw, you know, if they think they might have traded places, a la the original Mirror episode from the original series, where, you know, our Prime counterparts had switched places with their Mirror counterparts, and so they were in the Prime universe while our Prime characters were in the Mirror universe. Lorca seems to have suggested that it could go one of two ways. Either they switched places out and out with the discovery of the mirror universe, which means it is somewhere in the Prime universe, wreaking havoc, probably opening all kinds of cans of whoop ass on our heroes and everything. And who knows? Maybe they win the war against the Klingons. I have no idea. But if they look into a way of phasing the ship back, is there going to be room for, well, if they phase back to the Prime universe, that'll flip things back again? You know, like, I don't know if they're actually going to use the spore drive. I think we saw hints of that possibly being a thing in the preview for the next episode. And, you know, we saw Stamets cradling Culber and everything in the preview. And it went by so quick. Literally, as soon as I was done watching this episode, I had to get on camera and talk about it. Usually I like to let it ferment a little bit and soak it in a little bit, think about it, deliberate about it for a while, take some notes before I come on and I talk about an episode. But I was just riding the rails after this one. I'm still, you know, like, I literally just shut off the episode, got my camera set up, and then turned it on and am recording now live stream recording, just after having watched it. And so all of this stuff is still percolating in my mind in real time. So as I was saying before I got off on that tangent about whether or not, you know, the ships will switch places again, if that even was a thing, if you know, the mirror universe discovery is in our universe or in the Prime universe, and they do have to be set right again, one has to switch out with the other again, whether that happens or not, I thought it was highly, highly clever that everyone, for all intents and purposes, has to take on the persona and the guise, the outfits, you know, the iconography of the Terran Empire, and they have to pretend to be that. You know, it's such a really cunning, creative, stemming off of what we got in the original series episode, where our heroes had, you know, switched over into the mirror universe haplessly. They could do nothing about it. It was just about escape, 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 putting on a little bit of a show, but really, you know, the form and function was, what can we do? How can we get out of here as soon as humanly possible? And now we have a scenario where we get to spend a little more time. We're going to get to see a little more of the Terran Empire and the mirror universe and how that all works, the form and function of it. Our characters are going to have to pretend, and they're really, as we saw with Burnham having to kill this dude who had taken over the captaincy of the Shenzhou in her absence, where she was presumed dead, killed by Lorca, you know, she had to take his life in defense, but still, you could see it completely disturbed the hell out of her, and you just know. And then, of course, Lorca's in the pain, you know, chamber and whatever. So, like, all of these characters are going to be really up against it. You know, facing challenges they probably never considered they would ever have to face. And going down really dark and disturbing routes and paths. And some of this is mirrored in Burnham's own dialogue in the preview for the next episode, where she's really going to be taking command of the Shenzhou, and she's got to put up that facade. She has had no opportunity, as we see when she goes back to her quarters and there is Ash Tyler. You know, like, she's had no opportunity because everyone is still fawning over her and trying to gain her favor and all this kind of stuff, trying to rise in the ranks and whatever like that, now that their tried and true captain is back. But little do they know, it's Burnham proper, Burnham Prime, and she's not going to have, none of these characters is going to have an easy time of this. And the question remains, I mean, there's still the speculative aspects of, you know, is Lorca originally from the mirror universe? Was he trying to get back home? Did he let his curiosity about things get the better of him, and that's what, you know, made him instigate them tripping over into the mirror universe and jeopardized Stamets' well-being, his life, and all that kind of stuff? Did he do that on purpose? And if he did, like I say, was he trying to get back home to the mirror universe where he originally hails from? Or was there another Lorca? Is he Lorca Prime? And it just so happens that he has a lot of more questionable aspects to his personality, to his way of being, that coincide with his mirror universe counterpart, whether that still exists or not, you know, that kind of thing. And so, I mean, they could go any number of ways with this. I mean, I'm already, you know, seeing in my mindscape, my mind's eye, Burnham ending up coming across her mirror universe counterpart, and then seeing how sick and twisted and sadistic and evil she really is, and you know, I don't know if that's going to happen at all. That might not happen at all because her Mirror Universe equivalent was presumed dead. So, but the point is they could do that if they wanted to. They could do anything now, whatever they want. And if the writing is at the level this episode was, oh my goodness, the whole rest of this season is going to be gangbusters just as much as this episode was for me. Again, no holds barred, second to none. This is the best episode of Star Trek Discovery yet, in my humble opinion. I was completely on the edge of my seat watching this episode. Adam almost lost for words. I'm sort of stuttering and stammering here because, as I said, I'm still riding the high. I'm still in real time. I just got done watching this, episode going on 20-some-odd minutes ago now. And so that's really all I got to say on this episode. It was just spectacular. Best of the best thus far. And I hope it just continues on an upswing for the rest of the season. I wonder if we're going to ride out being in the Mirror Universe, this alternate dimension, for the rest of the season, or if it's going to be something that goes for a couple of episodes and then they find their way back. I don't really know. I do hope, whichever way it goes, there is a thorough resolution by the end. I hope we don't end the season on a cliffhanger, on an open ending, something ambiguous. I hope we get resolution, full-on resolution, so coming into a season 2, we can build off, maybe go a new direction, or maybe build off something new and unexpected, rather than, okay, we have to pick up where we left off, that kind of thing. Because the wait will probably be very long and grueling if they give us a cliffhanger, and I don't want any part of that. I just want a resolution, get us out of the Mirror Universe by the end of season 1, maybe have another adventure or two in between before we get to season 2, but yeah, all the performances in this episode were stellar. The writing, the direction was stellar. What more can you expect from Jonathan Frakes, who has this long history with Star Trek, of course? And it blew my mind. The episode blew my mind. So now I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've stumbled across this video, if you've made it to the end of this discussion, let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comments below. Love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below. Our POVs can certainly disagree. If you hated, loathed, despised this episode, didn't get anything out of it like I'm describing I did in this video, have at me. Let me know what you thought about it, even if you did despise it, even if you did hate it. But I would be pretty surprised for anyone who has been sticking with the show, who's been enjoying it for the most part, even with complaints, if you didn't just find this episode almost pitch perfect. Because I did. And so yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well. Live long and prosper, my friends, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.